everyone, I decided, what the heck, let's dig this thing out and see if I can't get it running. It's been, oh shoot, it's been over a year since I've had this thing going. And it needs some changes, it needs a few parts, just miscellaneous this and that. I won't do a whole lot today, I'm not feeling the best, but it'll be alright. So probably some of the things I'll need to do, I'm thinking about changing out the fuel pump. I'm going to need a fuel tank for it. I need to go through the carburetors, and I need to figure out something for new air filters, and probably put some new plugs in it, and do an oil change on it. That'll probably be the biggest things I need to do to it to get it going. One other thing I needed to do is fix the brakes. The brake linkage for the pedal is bent, so I need to fix that. But other than that, it should be in pretty decent shape. Real quick, before doing any tearing into the thing, let's kind of go over how I set up the controls on this thing. Probably one of the most obvious things is this right here. This was the original lever that raised and lowered the mower deck, and I actually connected it up, and I'll show you on the other side. This is the shifter, and then right here is the clutch lever, and then down here, seems to be kind of stuck, is my throttle pedal. On this side, the original brake pedal, that works the hydraulic rear brake, and then you can see the linkage here that I made for the shifter. Come off over here, a linkage with a couple of rod ends that connects to the shifter on the motor. And that system works really well. Here on the dash, I have a main switch. This switch will kill absolutely everything. This is a starter button. I have, if I remember right, the red light is just showing that, you know, the power's on, and the orange light is a neutral light. And then here on this side of the dash, I have a oil pressure gauge. And then this is a water temperature gauge. This is not a water-cooled motor, but I tied it into a oil passage on the motor so I can actually watch the oil temperature on the motor. I did that since the motor's all covered underneath the hood. I figured, you know, that way I can keep an eye on oil temperature, just make sure everything's all good. Cooling, one thing I did is I cut these 5 large holes in the front of the hood and actually installed 5 computer fans. Now those actually push a lot of air, and they push it right onto the head, right where that air is needed to cool the motor down. And actually this works very well on it, with it blowing directly onto the head. It keeps this motor cooled down and nice and happy. The thing I did kind of help with the cooling is I put this exhaust wrap onto the headers. That way I figured this would keep some of this exhaust heat out from underneath the hood of the motor. And whether it works or not, I don't know, but I mean, the motor does not get hot at all with the hood on it and running, so I figure it's got to be doing some kind of good. The first thing I'm going to do to get to messing with this thing is I'm going to pull the throttle cable off of it like so, and then I'm going to undo all the hose clamps, and I'm going to pull the carburetors off. Take this fuel line loose, and then the 4 hose clamps for the carbs. Now with all that loose, should be able to just kind of rock these carburetors and pop them off. And there's the carburetors off. It's a good start. Alright, so I mentioned something about changing the fuel pump out. I have an electric fuel pump right here, and it's actually in really close proximity to the chain, but this is an electric pump, and it's a little too high pressured. I have a way that I work around that. but I'm wanting to switch to this here pulse fuel pump. This takes a pulse off the crankcase and works the diaphragm in there to pump the fuel, and this is made for carburetors. So I think I'm going to go ahead and pull that fuel pump out and all the hoses and everything with it and get that out of my way. And the fuel pump is just held on with these two bolts. Hook the power wire to it. And there's the complete fuel pump system. Now, a little trick I always did for these fuel pumps with carbureted setups, and I've done it on regular lawnmower engines and motorcycle engines, and it works really well, is I put a T in the line. One side of the line will go to the carburetors, and then the other side I'll use a slightly smaller line and just bypass that right back in the tank. So that way, when the carburetors are full and the float's shut, it just bypasses the fuel flow right back into the tank without overpowering the float. One other thing I want to do on here is, if you can't tell, this wiring in here is an absolute mess. So I would like to kind of clean that up and get that all straightened out. Everything all tied up and out of the way, nice and neat. That way nothing flopping around where it doesn't need to be. So that'll be another thing on the list of stuff to do, and maybe try to slightly simplify this wiring. It's not too bad. The worst though, it's honestly the charging system. Yeah, but I'll straighten that up and clean it up. Probably one other thing I'm gonna do real quick before I get too much farther is I'm gonna make me some plugs to plug the intakes on this thing, and I'm gonna give it a good pressure washing. This thing is absolutely filthy inside of it, probably from oil off the chain, and just, you know, this thing's been around for a few years, so it's collected up some dirt and grime and stuff like that. So I'll take it and pressure wash it off. Alright, in order to fix the brakes on this thing, I'm going to pull the rear fender off, and this plate here, so the seat and all that's going to have to go. I don't know if I'll have to mess with the dash or not, or take these floorboards off. I'll see, but that'll be the easiest way to get to the master cylinder and all that. So I will get to work tearing all that apart. Remember right, these bolts and these springs under the seat. Let's see if this fender's loose. Sure enough. The next step would be taking these bolts out that hold this plate on. And now this plate should just pull straight out. Looks like I got some wires connected to it here. I'll unhook them. Alright, so hopefully this shows up just fine. You can see some of the frame modifications I did to this. I put a 1-inch square tubing in it, and here's an X-brace that I did just to help stiffen the frame up some. But down in here, here's the master cylinder with a stainless braided line running back to the caliper on the brake disc. I made the caliper to where it can be all adjustable in any direction and needed to also. My problem is the rod running from the pedal to the master cylinder has bent. I don't know if it bent because it's just a weak setup or if my master cylinder is possibly stuck, because I've had this master cylinder round now for several years, and with as much as this thing has set, that master cylinder could be stuck. I'll go ahead and see if I can get this master cylinder unbolted. Goes. Alright, and here's the problem with the master cylinder. You can see the rod here that should be straight has nicely bent back here. I designed it like this here so I could adjust it, but I think I'll just take it apart, measure the overall length, and just make a one solid rod that'll work. I think. Hopefully this master cylinder is not stuck. See if I can move it. I can't tell right now. I'll have to unhook the master cylinder altogether. And there it is, totally unhooked. See if it will move. Yeah, the master cylinder is good and free, so alright, that's awesome. I do not need another master cylinder, so I'm in good shape there. I'll just make a whole new rod for it, and that'll fix the brakes. Alright, I think that'll be enough destruction for now. I'm going to call it a day on this thing and give myself a rest. I'm not feeling too good right now. So I'll see about getting some parts ordered absolutely as soon as I can. I will get a new gas tank, get some air filters for it, and I'm kind of kicking around the idea of getting some rebuild kits for the carburetors. I don't know if they'll need it exactly, and I'll go from there. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and keep a lookout for the next one when I get back to work on this thing. So until next time, thanks for watching.